Remembering Moonshiners star Lance Waldroup spent several years on Moonshiners, bootlegging out of North Carolina with his dad, Jeff. While he was younger and less experienced than other Moonshiners on the show, Lance is remembered for his ambition to learn the tricks of the trade and distilled all sorts of spirits, including moonshine, absinthe, and scotch. Lance passed away February 25, 2021 in North Carolina. He was 30 years old. North Carolina native Lance Waldroup spent several seasons on Moonshiners alongside his father Jeff. Remembering Moonshiners star Lance Waldroup, a tribute to a life lived with grit and determination. Lance Waldroup, one of the most memorable stars of the hit television series Moonshiners, tragically passed away at the age of 30 in 2021. While his death was a loss to the world, his life, filled with grit, determination, and a deep connection to his Appalachian roots, continues to inspire those who knew him and those who followed his journey on the show. Born and raised in the hills of North Carolina, Lance was not just another reality TV star. He was a living embodiment of the rugged spirit that defines the Appalachian Mountains. Moonshiners may have brought him national recognition, but his story was one that had been unfolding long before the cameras rolled. His family, his work, and his identity were all deeply intertwined with the tradition of moonshining, a craft that goes back generations in the Waldroup family. Early life and family legacy. Lance Waldroup grew up in the Appalachian region, an area rich in culture, history, and a unique way of life. From an early age, he was taught the skills of the trade, skills that were passed down from his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. The craft of moonshining wasn't just a job for Lance. It was part of the very fabric of his existence. His family had been involved in the illegal distillation of alcohol for generations, and Lance's talent for moonshining was evident from a young age. In many ways, he had been groomed for the spotlight, but not the one that came with fame and fortune. His spotlight was one of tradition, pride, and survival. The Waldroup family's moonshining history was more than just an occupation. It was a way of life that carried with it a deep respect for the land and a strong bond between family members. Lance's father, who had learned from his own father, taught him the ins and outs of distilling, and it wasn't long before Lance was carrying on the family legacy. Though the practice was illegal, it was a part of the culture of the mountains, where the government's reach often fell short and people relied on each other to survive. Lance's deep love for his heritage, combined with a natural ability to craft the perfect batch of moonshine, earned him a reputation that soon attracted the attention of the producers of Moonshiners. It was a decision that would change his life forever. Moonshiners, the show that brought Lance to the world. Moonshiners first aired in 2011 on the Discovery Channel, and its portrayal of the moonshining lifestyle quickly captivated audiences. The show followed the lives of individuals who continued the clandestine tradition of distilling alcohol, often in remote locations, and usually without the knowledge or approval of the authorities. The show was part documentary and part reality TV, blending real-life stories with the kind of drama that makes for great television. Lance's appearance on Moonshiners came at a time when the show was becoming increasingly popular. The show's success was rooted in its ability to showcase the real lives of people who had lived outside the bounds of traditional society. The show's audience was fascinated by the dangers and hardships that came with moonshining, and Lance's story was no different. He wasn't just a moonshiner. He was a young man trying to make his way in a world that had little room for people like him. People who, out of necessity, had to break the law to make a living. Lance's relationship with his co-stars, particularly his family, was a key part of the show's appeal. On the show, Lance worked alongside his father, who had been distilling for decades. Their interactions, sometimes filled with humor and sometimes fraught with tension, were a window into the complicated dynamics of a father-son relationship steeped in a tradition that was both a blessing and a curse. In this way, Lance's journey on Moonshiners became a reflection of his real-life struggle to balance tradition with his desire for a better life. The show also depicted the dangerous nature of moonshining. The process of distilling alcohol is fraught with risks, from the volatile chemicals used in the process to the risk of getting caught by law enforcement. It was a dangerous business. But Lance was no stranger to risk. His passion for the craft, combined with a natural skill for the work, made him a star among the other Moonshiners. What made Lance stand out on Moonshiners? Playing a role for the cameras, he was living his life. Fans of the show admired his down-to-earth nature and his willingness to show both his triumphs and struggles. It was clear that Lance wasn't in it for fame or fortune. He was in it to honor his family's legacy and to preserve a piece of Appalachian culture. Lance's passion for the craft, Lance's commitment to the craft of moonshining went beyond the confines of the TV show. He was known for being a perfectionist when it came to his moonshine, paying close attention to every detail of the distillation process. He took pride in his work, and it was clear that he viewed his moonshining as an art form. In many ways, he was a craftsman who worked with his hands and his heart to create something that was deeply connected to his heritage. His passion for moonshining was also matched by a love for the land. Lance had a deep respect for the mountains that had shaped his life, and he was known to speak fondly of the environment in which he lived and worked. To him, the land was a partner in the process of making moonshine, and it was clear that he saw himself as a steward of the traditions that had been passed down through generations. Even though moonshining had been outlawed in the United States for many years, Lance never lost sight of the cultural significance of the craft. For him, it was not just about making alcohol. It was about preserving a way of life that was integral to his identity. He had a deep sense of pride in his work, and he viewed his role as one of the last remaining links to a disappearing tradition. The tragic loss, the news of Lance Waldroup's death in early 2021, shocked his fans and friends alike. At just 30 years old, Lance's life was cut short, leaving behind a legacy that would live on in the hearts of those who had followed his journey on Moonshiners. While the details of his passing remain private, the outpouring of love and support from his family, friends, and fans painted a picture of a young man who was deeply loved and who had a bright future ahead of him. Lance's death was a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing the moments we have with the people we love. For those who had the privilege of knowing him, Lance was more than just a reality TV star. He was a son, a brother, a friend, and a symbol of the resilience and spirit of the Appalachian people. A lasting legacy. Though Lance Waldroup is no longer with us, his memory lives on in the hearts of those who knew him and in the lasting impact of his work on Moonshiners. His story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and to the power of tradition, family, and passion. For those who followed him on the show, Lance was more than just a moonshiner. He was a symbol of authenticity, determination, and a deep love for his heritage. As we remember Lance, we honor not just his contribution to Moonshiners, but also the broader culture of the Appalachian region and the people who continue to live and work in its hills. His life serves as a reminder of the importance of holding on to our roots and the traditions that make us who we are. Lance Waldroup may no longer be with us, but his legacy will endure. In the hills of Appalachia, where the land is as much a part of the people as the people are a part of the land, Lance will always be remembered as a man who lived with passion, authenticity, and a deep respect for the traditions that shaped him.